Good evening. Welcome back to We Review Sunday with your host, Elizabeth Caldwell. Today, we're going to be talking about don't groan Social Security and how it penalizes women. So, ladies, start taking notes because you're still considered a second-class citizen as defined by the U.S. government and Social Security. So, what's the beef? Well, if you're married or were married, all of a sudden you're down to one paycheck from Social Security. And according to them, they take the higher one, whether it's the man or the woman, and that becomes your fixed income check. What they don't tell you is if you do not alert them immediately, they will deduct the amount of the second check from your Social Security account until you pay them back in full. They don't care, you see, because originally when Social Security was set up in our great nation, men were the primary wage earner and not so much women. And if they did make more than men, they were lucky because they were able to get back their full amount when their spouse died. Now, if you're divorced from your primary wage earner, which is a gentleman, then chances are you may not get the Social Security at all. On the flip side, if you remarry, you may lose your check from Social Security because, according to the government and the Social Security, you've married a major wage earner. Think about that. So, it's a financial trap if you live like I do on a fixed income. And no one tells you about it or warns you about it until it's too late, until your double income is slashed in half or more. Think about that. It's called the widow's penalty, and it hits women at the exact time you are grieving. You're vulnerable and least able to absorb another blow. Because when your spouse dies, there's a lot of things you've got to remember to do. And if you've never been through it before, well, it's like getting a double whammy. Or you could say you're being scammed. Did I say that? Oh my. Accusing Social Security of scamming you. Moving right along. Here's how it works. When both spouses are alive, the household receives two separate Social Security checks. But when the main spouse dies, that's the breadwinner, and it isn't women. Their survivors are allowed to keep only the higher check, and the smaller one disappears forever. According from MSN, who reported on this can reduce your income, a widow's income, by hundreds or even thousands of dollars a month. Think about that in today's inflation and higher prices due to the adventurous war known as Iran. Yahoo Finance shows that most widows lose 30 to 40% of their household income overnight, even though their bills don't change. Let's put that into real numbers, 21st century style, 2026. A couple receiving $2,800 and $1,600 a month equals $4,400 total. And that suddenly drops to $2,800 when her husband or his husband dies. That's a 36% loss starting the month after the funeral. And the mortgage payments, the utility bills, the insurance bills, they don't shrink to match your income drop. Oh no, they stay and remain exactly the same. And then comes that second blow. The widow, the widow receives a message from Social Security telling her that she's been overpaid with 2 Social Security checks. So you need to pay back Social Security for bringing in that second check. And what happens is when you pay as a single person, it pushes you into a higher tax bracket at lower income levels. Vision Retirement explains that even with less income, widows often pay more in taxes because single filers hit higher brackets sooner and lose nearly half their standard deduction. Who knew? So, the Center for Financial Planning confirms this, that you will be placed into a higher taxes on a lower income, a structural intolerance known as the widow's tax penalty. So, the system takes Social Security check away and then raises the taxes on the one that's left. Now, let's talk about that fixed income. Widows are more likely to live on Social Security alone. I do. They're more likely to live longer. I am. My husband died at 76. I'm 75, folks, and in good health, considering one thing and another. And because we're more likely to have earned less over a lifetime than my husband, we are more likely to face poverty in old age. As my ex-brother used to say, you'll become a bag lady, Mom. Tell that to our current president. Mention that about the tariffs, the taxes, and to the reality of living on a fixed income. Tell it to the grocery bill that doesn't care that you've lost your spouse, your significant other. Tell it to the electric bill that doesn't shrink out of empathy or sympathy. Tell it to the widow who goes from $4,000 a month to $2,075, like I did, and then gets told she might owe Social Security money back if Social Security kept paying them the full amount. This isn't a mistake, folks. This isn't a glitch, folks. This is how the system, which was developed by a man, was designed. A system built decades ago on the assumption that men were the earners and women were the dependents, or property, along with their children, who are also considered property. A system that never imagined women living longer, earning less, and carrying the financial burden alone. A system that still punishes us widows for surviving. Yeah, my guy's now been dead almost 10 years. Bad luck. This widow's penalty is real. It is devastating, and it deserves national attention, not silence. Difficult to achieve since 2/3 of government are men, old men, who are taken care of by the system, as their wives are, as their families are, and as their grandchildren are. Something that the original founding fathers never imagined in a billion years. It was supposed to be a temporary job. You went in, you did your government work, and hello, you went home and worked an honest job. So, we will continue this discussion and figure out or try to find what widows are told and when they're told. And if anybody really was going to tell them at all, and why this penalty needs reform now, not tomorrow, now. And forget the old saying that haste makes waste, because it's not wasted. People on fixed incomes during the 60s, they used to eat pet food. Now they can't even afford that. Thank you for joining me.